The system is failing. We're going to have more homelessness, more unemployment, and the government has to print more money. It's a command and control economy where the government tells you everything. I just don't trust our government. And they're going to have to start printing pretty quickly. And the more they print, the less value, purchasing power the dollar has, or the loonie, or the yen, or the peso. People are talking about inflation. I think we're in depression right now, and we're going to be the biggest depression in world history. In the 1970s, that's when the world was changing. The biggest bust in the history of the world is coming up. It's pensions. They trusted the government. They trusted their pension would be there, and it's going to go bust. And that's us. We get crushed.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bearable Bull here. And I got this aggressively average content for you today. As we have to remember, because you cannot forget, that the SEC wants you to believe that it cares about disclosures, transparencies, and clarity, when in reality the truth will eventually come out, and the shamefulness of their behavior will shock you. This was a message from Brad Garlinghouse after reading the Bill Hinman emails. We have to remember that Ripple has uncovered, and the Ripple executives know more about the actions of the SEC than the general public does. And we can understand that conflicts of interest took place during the last administration at the SEC. But this one's is just as bad. Guys, very briefly, I want you all to take a listen to Warren Davidson, congressman, discuss how SBF was arrested conveniently enough the day before he was supposed to testify, and discuss political donations that he made with FTX. That and more is being uncovered in real time. And I want you all to listen.
The arrest.
SBF, had been asked to testify hours before he's arrested. I mean, what gives to the timing of that? And what about SEC Chair Gary Gensler? Some say he has a very cozy relationship with Alameda Research, which looks like has commingled funds with FTX.
Yeah, and not just Alameda Research, but Sam Bankman-Fried himself. And I think that's a big part of the timing, frankly. I mean, it's all speculation at this point. But the best theory I have is that the SEC and others didn't want SBF to give his own version of, so what were you doing with Gary Gensler in the Securities and Exchange Commission with all these meetings and all this interaction that you've had with regulators? And he would have been able to give his side of that. The regulators, the SEC, Gary Gensler and others wouldn't have been able to filter the questions, and they didn't know where that was going to go. So I think that's part of what drove some of the timing on the.
You see, guys, Warren Davidson hit the nail right on the head, and I absolutely agree. A lot of you may be completely tired of hearing about FTX and the XRP army, but the reason this is so important is because I've been coming here every single day, sometimes twice a day, to discuss to all of you that regulations are coming to crypto and it will annihilate the industry. Why do you think exchanges are under extreme scrutiny right now? It's because the Fidelities, the BlackRocks, the TDs, all of these centralized institutions, all of these legacy institutions, they're making their way into crypto to become the infrastructure for the industry. Regulations will annihilate 99% of projects. Regulations will annihilate exchanges that are not compliant. And ultimately, this will make for trillions upon trillions of dollars to enter crypto with the snap of a finger. I don't know when. I don't know how much. But I know that I've been discussing this very moment happening. People are afraid because prices are going down in value. But we've always known this moment was coming. That does not mean crypto is dead. That does not mean crypto is over. On the contrary, this is the most excited I've been in 2022 when it comes to our market. I believe Gary Gensler is going to get what's coming to him. And I believe we're going to get crypto regulations that'll provide framework, guidance, guardrails that will kill a lot of projects, but will also allow the best ones to thrive.
We know that Chair Gensler had more meetings with FTX than anyone else in the crypto industry. We understand that what was being negotiated was a framework for digital asset exchange registration and token registration with the SEC that would benefit both parties. It would expand the SEC's jurisdiction in exchange for the SEC's preferential treatment of FTX over other industry participants. We understand there was a lot of activity to move this idea forward, including the circulation of draft short-form disclosures that would enable filers to get tokens listed on this newly formed bespoke exchange. Mr. Ray, I know you're handicapped with the information you currently have obtained, but Chair Gensler refuses to answer our questions or testify before this committee. Will you commit to sharing with this committee any internal documents you come across regarding communication between FTX and Mr. Gensler or others at the SEC?
We'll fully cooperate, with the committee and the regulatory authorities with respect to our investigation.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we see that Gary Gensler, he's not testifying in front of any committees. Tom Emmer's calling him out. We here in the XRP Army have been calling out Gary for 2 years now. And Gary is going to get his time in the sun. The acting FTX CEO stated they will turn over any documents related to Gary Gensler. And I think a lot of truth is about to come out about little old Gary. We're coming for you, Gary. Your time is running out. And yet another member of the Financial Committee here in the United States stated Gary Gensler is on borrowed time as he failed to do his job and he failed to protect investors. While he was over here suing Ripple, Library, and Kim K. The biggest scammers on the planet had the most meetings with him. And he was trying to treat the criminals the best. You are the company you keep, Gary. And we see you very clearly.
The collapse of FTX. Mismanagement of funds, the use of complex margin and collateralization of certain digital assets, and of course, alleged fraud. The timing of the events of the last 12 hours is certainly interesting. As a recovering attorney, it makes me wonder why a prosecutor wouldn't want to potentially add lying to Congress to accompany the list of charges against Mr. Bankman-Fried. It also makes me wonder why the SEC waited until today to file its own charges. Frankly, Chair Gensler has failed at his job, and worst of all, he has failed to protect investors, which is one of the key components of the SEC's tripartite mission. Similarly, while he has been asleep at the wheel, the Democratic majority has failed to have him to testify before this committee for over 14 months, which I believe is a disservice to investors. I hope that in a few weeks that we in the new Republican majority will finally start to hold the Biden administration accountable for their failures.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue with the rest of these testimonies that have been uncovered every single day, I have to give you a bit of my speculation based on documented facts. And this is going to upset a lot of people in this community that I have a lot of respect for, and that also have a lot of respect for me. You see, there's a great subsect of the XRP Army that believes the XRP token is going to be allowed for retail investors because the technology is allowing for retail use cases. And while I 100% agree that the technology exists, that they're building out plenty of use cases and a lot of things are going on, you'll have to understand that my background is in politics and I'm a bit of a historian. And something that I know about governments is that they are 100% completely tyrannical all of the time. Meaning that they want to keep us, people that they view as peasants, at bay. Part of the way I believe they could try and control us from not making as much generational wealth from XRP as possible is by forcing us to relinquish our XRP before it reaches its true value. Oh, guys, that's very real. That's something that I worry about constantly. XRP is so valuable that government institutions need it and want it. And XRP is so valuable that I believe it'll reach such absurd values that governments will try and force XRP away from us before it gets there. That does not mean we will not benefit from price appreciation. That does not mean we can't make generational wealth from XRP. But there have been documents that have made me question whether or not we're going to be able to own XRP when it reaches its 110% potential. Here, in this FCA Financial Conduct Authority document talking about prohibiting the sale to retail clients of investment products that reference crypto assets, you could see a scenario where if you read between the lines, you can see that XRP's potential classification after this case, or by Congress, could be that of a hybrid token. A hybrid token can be classified as debt or equity securities if they share the characteristics of asset tokens. For example, if the hybrid instrument generates interest for the holders, it should be classified as debt securities. We also have language in this FCA document discussing how to facilitate the macro and international monetary stability. Stablecoin arrangements should not undermine confidence in the stability of domestic fiat currencies. In the United States, this may require additional limitations of any stablecoins that is not exchangeable for the underlying fiat currency, one-to-one net of fees, or for which value is determined by reference to more than one fiat currency, a multi-currency stablecoin. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I believe that describes XRP perfectly. XRP is meant to be a multi-currency bridge asset. And every single day, I continue to get excited about crypto regulations. The number one thing I'm over here reading is currency proposals over stablecoins. I do believe there's a world where a scenario comes to play where XRP is a high-priced stablecoin. And I never understood why some of the biggest people in the XRP army dismissed this as nonsense. I believe in the theory that XRP could be a high-priced stablecoin, and it's 100% something you cannot dismiss. Regulations can come into play. An interesting designation for XRP could come into play. This SEC case is coming to an eventual end. And in Congress and in the Senate, we're getting the regulations we're going to need for XRP to reach its highest potential. Finally, guys, to cap off this video for today, we have Kevin O'Leary in front of Senator Elizabeth Warren discussing how he believes the crypto market is extremely exciting and how we should not annihilate crypto, but just aim to regulate it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Bearable Bull here. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. Now I'll be back tomorrow with another video.
So, Mr. O'Leary, I know that you are a big supporter of crypto, even after you lost $10 million in FTX's collapse. But you are an experienced investor. So let me ask you, do you believe that the potential benefits of crypto are so promising that we should accept weaker anti-money laundering rules and weaker compliance from crypto firms than we require from banks, from brokers, and from Western Union?
No, I think we should apply the same regulatory structure that we apply to existing trading of stocks and bonds on exchanges tied to broker-dealers. That is not complicated. It's already been implemented in other countries. And I take issue, Senator, with your concept that it makes it easier to do money laundering. Currencies have been used for drug trafficking since the 60s in the American dollar, when it was thrown out of a Piper aircraft in a duffel bag. The American dollar is also used by bad actors all the time.
Mr. O'Leary, I appreciate your point that everyone tries to engage in money laundering. That's what terrorists do. That's what drug dealers do. And that's what states like Iran and North Korea have done. The only point I'm trying to make is, should the same rules against money laundering apply to crypto in the way that they apply to banks, to stockbrokers, to credit card companies, to Western Union?
You
and
know-
I think your answer to that was yes. Is that right?
No.
Mr. O'Leary, you have 30 seconds. Keep your answer short. You're
It's
30.
not yes. I'm just saying if you know your client rules on both sides of the transaction and use a crypto such as USDC that is regulated, you solve this problem, Senator, overnight.
Well, I appreciate that you want the same kind of rules to apply to everyone, and we can talk about what's needed to make that happen.